Hi there everyone, welcome back to our series that we call Living Kindly, or it's more than a series, kind of a way that we try and live our lives. Because I genuinely believe that this very simple concept, which is incredibly difficult to execute, could be the last chance that we have to extricate ourselves from the mess we've made of our health and also, of the planet that we occupy. And this is this for me kind of encapsulates the challenges we face, because human beings are capable of so much good and doing of good things, but on the other side we can be entitled and arrogant and boorish and thuggish, and this is one of those exact examples. When we started down this journey some years ago now, this was one of the very first things that we tackled, was to say, how do we control or manage this relationship that we have with the ecosystem that we occupy in our own little tiny space, which is our home, and how do we control things like that we call pests, but are very simply the creatures and animals that we share our space with, and that are so critical to our survival. And one of those are, this is an inside kind of challenge, and particularly, ants. So today we're talking about how we've changed our control mechanism for dealing with ants. Ants and other sort of crawling, insects in the house. And I think it's really important to, before we look at the solution, which is super simple, to understand that and remember that ants do exactly what we need them to do, which is clean up the mess that we make. So let's first of all consider this. If you have ants in your kitchen, it's because it's dirty. If you clean the surfaces properly, there's no need for them to be here. Ants don't arrive for tea, or to, it's not a courtesy visit. Pop in to say, how's it? They're here to do a very particular job, and it's a job we need them desperately to do. Until they inconvenience, and we're fine with it. We're absolutely fine with it until they inconvenience us. And once they inconvenience us, then we go full Homo sapien monster. And consider this, when we have an ant problem, we head down to the hardware store and we buy, which are essentially chemical and biological weapons that we have banned we banned their use for wars amongst other humans. We're the only animal that does that too, but we consider those to be, that they can't do that, that's a war crime. There's an oxymoron for you, war crime. But we're very happy to use it, on other animals that get in our way. So we're not just happy to sort of destroy a few hundred individuals that are in our way. We want to kill everybody, all of them. We sound like, if you follow the UFC, we sound like Khamzat Chimaev, in the interview. I kill everybody, I kill everyone. That's kind of how we do things, which is just mad. Anyway, enough on that. Here's the solution that we found. So the first question that we asked was, surely, seeing human beings have been occupying permanent dwellings now for 50,000 years, that surely we're not the first generation of humans to actually have this challenge. And surprise, surprise, we're not. And surprise, surprise, our ancestors actually had it all figured out, which again is another indictment on kind of what I call the new age Homo sapien, that where we think, we're the only ones who've got this challenge, we're the only ones who have a solution. Not true. Anyway, I sound a bit like I'm ranting a little bit on this, but this sits badly with me. It did when I started to think about it, and it still does. So how do we control it? How do we control it? It's very simple. This in here, this is an essential oil. It's we use oils from doTERRA. They are absolutely amazing. They are absolutely 100%. What it says on the bottle. This is cinnamon oil. And because we found out that, and as our ancestors had taught us, that they don't like cinnamon. Ants don't like cinnamon at all, because it interferes with their sense of smell, which is really their sight. Ants are essentially blind. Those little tiny creatures, they're amazing, but they're blind, and they follow a chemical trail laid down by their reconnaissance teams who go out to search for dirty surfaces that we've left behind. But when you use cinnamon, it's if you put your nose into a bowl of cinnamon, you'll find out. It's an overpowering, it's a very, very strong smell. So it actually interferes with their sense of sight. They can't see, and that quickly gets them running for the hills. So I actually started off with cinnamon powder. It was great fun, which is so cool. I used to sprinkle cinnamon powder, and used to remind me of house parties that I used to go to when I was much younger, when someone would shout, cops, and everyone would head for the hills. And it's very similar if you just sprinkle some cinnamon powder. But anyway, the Minister of Home Affairs quickly kind of said to me, the cinnamon powder is making more of a mess than the ants, so find another way. So I did. So in terms of how much, if you use a high quality cinnamon oil like this one, I remember that old, I think it was an airline ad, I only want to hear one click. This is 250 ml bottle, 2 drops of cinnamon oil for 250 milliliters of water. You just use a spray bottle, and you can literally spray. If you've got ants at the time, you literally spray over the top, and they'll quickly disperse. Or you can just spray along the lines that they run along, typically along the edges of your counter surfaces, and on wherever you find access points that they have made into the kitchen or any other room in the house. And all you do, spray the cinnamon, or what I've done, and I've said so in a previous video, I actually put it into my counter surface spray, which is again natural. It's lemon, made with lemon zest that we've diluted, that we've let sit in vinegar for a couple of weeks. But if you add cinnamon to it, it works perfectly as well. But if you've got a big problem, and also the first time that you're doing it, then use the cinnamon on its own. Remember that they're persistent, so they will test you and see if you're serious. But all you have to do is just keep doing it, and they will very quickly learn that this is not a place that they want to be. If you've got outside surfaces that might be exposed a little bit more to the elements, then instead of water, just add some oil and paint it on with a toothbrush, and it works like a bomb. So let's stop being boorish, arrogant, entitled thugs, and let's rather just figure out how do we work together with the ecosystem in our home, because remember, a world without insects is a dead world. We cannot survive without them. So it's it amazes me just how do we think this way, that we make a mess, then we call the cleaners and we shoot the cleaners as they come in the door. It's mad. It's just mad. Anyway, here ends the lesson for today. How to control ants in your home with cinnamon oil, water, and a bit of persistence. Have a good one.